Hello friends. So in this video I'm going to talk about something that I find particularly interesting. It's not really non-duality though, or idealism. It's the work of David Bohm. So people say that David Bohm is an idealist. He says he's not. So there you go. But still, it's very interesting. I think if you've understood the main ideas of idealism, non-duality, then exploring the work of David Bohm can give you extra insights into maybe how Maya is working, how the illusion is working, or how because if you leave behind the ideas of a mechanical universe, then we can go to an idea of everything unfolding. So that's what he's talking about, and I think it's very interesting to look at. So he makes this division between mechanical, which is traditional. So we see things evolve in time and space. One thing causes another thing to happen very mechanically, and it's all from the bottom up. So all the little things cause the big things to happen, basically. So that's the viewpoint most of us have here in this world. But David Bohm was a scientist in the 20th century, a physicist, a friend of Einstein, and I think he was on Einstein's side regarding Einstein didn't. There's this famous phrase: "God doesn't throw dice," or God doesn't play dice, because Einstein didn't like the randomness of the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics, basically. So, and David Bohm was on his side and developed this idea of a pilot wave, which people don't really like, but it has certain elements that are becoming more accepted actually now, because he used to say that reality is non-local, and they're proving more and more that this is true, that reality is non-local. And I think some of his ideas are coming back, whether or not his physics is right. But he was a real serious physicist with who understood the mathematics of it. And when he talks about the mathematics of it, he says that he saw certain things that other physicists, they all agree with, about how information is unfolded and folded again. So it's hidden and it comes out in this kind of way that doesn't actually connect one thing to another. It's not like one thing causes another. There's one thing that happens, then another thing happens. So there's no causality between things. It's more like they are unfolding. And so he applied this on a big scale. So we can look at it. It sounds very technical, and the first thing that you think of is that, oh, I see, so reality is all unfolding, right? This present minute is unfolding, and that's good. I like that idea. It's not progressing through time, really. It's unfolding from the present moment. Just like if you're watching a film, the film is not, things are not causing other things to happen in the film. They're actually all coming from the film itself, being created every moment anew. So it's nice. I like this idea. However, he goes further. So because he claims he's not an idealist, he's a physicist, and he talks about matter, and he thinks that thought is a material process that's in the mind. But when you get into it, you see that he thinks everything is an unfolding of what he calls the implicate order. So the implicate order is where everything is enfolded, and things unfold and then refold into the implicate order again. And so even things like a memory, for example. So you remember something, so it unfolds. It's invisible first, and then it unfolds, and this memory is visible to you, and then it folds again and it's hidden. And he uses he uses analogy of he saw on television once 2 glass tubes. It was a science experiment. 2 glass tubes with glycerin in between them. So it's very it doesn't dissipate. It's very solid. It's not solid. It's a solid liquid. I don't know the chemical term, to be honest. But and if there's an ink drop in it, between the two glass tubes, and you turn the outer tube, the ink drop is dragged and separates. And the more you turn it, the more it disappears into the glycerin. So it's completely invisible. And then if you turn it back again, slowly the ink drop reforms into the single ink drop that was there in the beginning. You can also see it like the way that when you make a cake, maybe it's not a cake, but basically you beat egg whites and you make these fluffy egg whites, and then you fold them into the thing you're making to maintain the air in the egg whites, so that whatever you're making, your cake or your meringue or something, is light and fluffy, and you fold it in. And so that's the idea. So these things, these thoughts, are folded into reality and become invisible in reality. Now, this doesn't only happen with thoughts. It happens with everything. So it happens, for example, in an acorn. You have an acorn, and within the acorn is enfolded the whole tree. Now, so the acorn unfolds to become the tree. We imagine it's all molecules moving about, but it's all this process of unfolding. He says that scientists normally see the mechanism as the basis, and the unfolding, which they do accept, they do see it as happening. This is secondary. But what he's saying is that the folding and unfolding is actually primary, and the mechanical view of the world that we see is secondary. So you have the tree unfolds from the acorn, and it's folded back into the implicate order as the acorns, the new acorns. So there's constant folding and unfolding. Society is an unfolding. The movement of the planets is an unfolding. And everything unfolds and refolds. So that's the fundamental process that's going on here. Now, what happens with time is we think there's this time that's independent. And we move through time. But it was shown, Einstein showed with relativity that time is relative. And so it's not really something out there. It depends on the speed of if the object is accelerating and things like that. Now, so what he said is, so for example, you have the planets moving around the sun and you have the Earth spinning on its axis. This is an unfolding of that. Now, we on Earth, we measure that, we take that unfolding, which is quite straightforward, and we use it to measure other unfoldings, our day unfolding, when we wake up in the morning, our memories coming, and our work, and the way everything unfolds and refolds every day. There's this, doesn't just happen on a daily level, but there's many little aspects of reality which are enfolding and unfolding all together, but not at the same time. And so we take one unfolding, the movement of the planets, well, for the seasons, the movement of the Earth around the sun, and the spinning of the Earth on its axis, and we divide then the day into hours. And so we use one unfolding to measure the other unfoldings and basically to create clock time. And that's what time actually is. Time isn't something, time is what we see when things unfold, and that's why things seem to happen at different speeds, and because they are just really unfolding. They're not really unfolding in time. As they unfold, we see it as time. He said there is movement, but it doesn't mean that the movement is something through time. The movement is more fundamental than time. So maybe it was hard for us to conceive because our minds work with the ideas of time and space, and language works in that way. So it's difficult for us to conceive. But he gave an example of a symphony. So you have a symphony, the music, and then you have the sheet music. So the symphony is written on paper, and it's all enfolded. and then as the music's played, it unfolds. So it happens in the most basic things as well. He said when we see the world outside, it is enfolded into our body, and then our body unfolds it into the personal experience that we're having inside us. So it's not, he did argue from a point of view of beyond materialism and idealism. He did actually say it's not a question that we need to answer. We need to observe the way that this works. And he went into a lot of work about thought, which I'll go into in another video. So it's probably best to keep this on the unfolding and how this kind of creates time. And I think it's just something interesting to keep in mind. Probably not the perfect model at the end of the day, but if we accept this idea that that time is not what we thought it was, then this is one idea that maybe we can start looking at time in a new way and see what conclusions we can come to and what insights we can get by observing reality from a different model. So I hope that was interesting. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.